Every day, all day.
This is how we roll.
This is 97.9, the BOX.
Hey, good morning.
How are you?
Good, good.
Awesome. We are on time. Love to see that. I'm on time. No technical difficulties. We love that. So, good morning, everybody. If you are here for the business behind the music. I am Terry Thomas, operations manager here for Radio 1, which is 97.9 The Box, Magic 102.1, Radio Now, and also Praise Houston. And my guest today is Zachary Devon, who is with Muse here in Houston, and also Melodic Soul Entertainment. He is a social media and a brand consultant. He is an expert on so many things, but I love his brilliant mind and genius, especially when it comes to building brands in the online space. He's somebody who's super tapped in there and has a lot of, I guess, tricks of the trade, I would say, and things that nobody will tell you in terms of how to build your brand and to be successful. So if you're on here because you're an aspiring artist or influencer or somebody who's just trying to build your brand as the face of your business, here's where Zach comes in. This is his area of expertise, one of many areas of expertise, but I want to say good morning and welcome you to the business behind the music.
Well, thanks, Terry, for the very warm introduction. So,
Uh,
yeah, I'm
I love
excited
your
to be here.
genius, though. Yeah.
Thanks, thanks. Yeah, I figured I'd do it here at Muse, since this is kind of the space that inspired everything. So,
I love it.
I guess you did a really good introduction, so I'm trying to see where I missed out.
Well, I would just say, talk about your path. I love to hear the story of people's path because this
For
is a
sure.
very, unique and interesting space.
Yeah,
As time has gone on, especially now we're in the middle of the pandemic, so everybody's been at home. And, like if we weren't attached to the devices before, we're super attached to devices now. So, I just think it's interesting how, everything has evolved into this social space and how the social space has really made everything much more of a global society and really brought the world to you. So very interested in just you sharing a little bit about your background and how you came to be in this particular space and really acquired the expertise that you have because you have such a brilliant mind when it comes to the social space.
well, thank you, thank you. So my background, guys, it started in music, and I guess hopefully it'll end in music as well. But I started working for a lot of management companies and some labels as well. Sony Epic is to be one of them. And when I moved to Houston, actually, I got a great job working with Music World Entertainment, which is owned by Beyonce's family at the time. So, within there, I really learned a lot about like marketing, behavioral science, a lot of tricks of the trade, like Terry would say, to kind of help other artists grow their brand. And I've always had an interest in being an artist myself. So when I left out of there, I used some of those tricks of the trade that I learned and kind of developed a strategy for myself to be an independent artist and to make my own revenue and create multiple revenue streams, which in today's age, as you know, Terry, I mean, that's very important because music isn't always the breadwinner, even if you're a music artist. So I think that's really important for a lot of people to know and understand. And I'd say, all in all, I've been in the industry a little over 10 years. So I know I might look like I'm 12, but I'm
You're
a lot
not
more
12?
seasoned than that. No, I'm not 12. I'm a lot more seasoned than that. So, just really understanding and like you were saying, being malleable to where you can, change with the times. And I think if you can't reinvent yourself, a lot of artists that have kind of faded into the background have kind of went against the grain and, they didn't really value change and understand that it is a constant learning that we have to do, every day. So I never call myself a guru or expertise in anything because I'm still constantly learning and developing myself. Now, if I've walked that road before and I'm currently walking, obviously I'd like to give back and, look back and help others, kind of avoid those pitfalls. And so that's what I'm here to do today is to really kind of give back to the community, especially in these trying times where, people crave knowledge. And, I always say knowledge empowers you. So if you don't have knowledge, then you're going to fail in life.
I think, I mean, that's correct. I couldn't be more correct. I think to me, it's like I did a post recently about the power of the pivot, because there'll be obstacles that you'll come up against. And your ability to sort of assess the situation, make some decisions, and then be able to be nimble and pivot, really is instrumental in your success. So I could tell you from the artist, well, from a radio perspective or this side of the business, a lot of people in here, are certainly aspiring artists, people that are trying to grow in the music side of the entertainment business. And, a lot of times I do the sessions and people wondering, how to get on the radar for people. And I would say, having a strong social media presence and a really strong social media engagement, I really think is the key. I think people really get confused when, you're really just seeing how many likes or followers you have, but not really concerned with the level of engagement. So let's talk a little bit about super basic. This may be above some people, but I really want to start at ground zero so that we can build a really strong foundation here. What's in your explanation, what's the pros and cons of likes, follows, and engagement?
Well, so I'm gonna piggyback off of something that you've always said is people buy into people, right? So you have to be the center focus of your brand. So I've borrowed that multiple times and I've credited you. So
well, thank you.
Just letting you know.
Yeah, people buy into people before they buy into products.
Right. So you have to be the center focus of your brand. And like you said, engagement is very important. So a lot of like brands now that are looking to work with artists and looking to sponsor you, endorse you, they don't necessarily look at numbers anymore, because numbers was the facade that people have put on for years when, it started with MySpace, actually, if you guys remember that. So it started with MySpace, and then, Facebook, and people were just looking at numbers like, great, you have 100,000 followers, you have 500,000 followers. But what does that really mean as far as conversion? And when I say conversion, I mean, how does that equate into a sale, or driving a behavioral change? And if you don't have high engagement, then that company's not going to hire you, and they can see that. So surface level, it might look great, but if, let's say, you have 100,000 like followers and you have maybe like 1 or 2 comments, it's going to look off, or you're going to have maybe like 5 likes, it's going to look really off because the ratio is not there. So a lot of these companies are catching on to that because they don't want to waste their money on sponsoring or endorsing an artist or a brand that doesn't give them the sales, because at the end of the day, it's all about marketing and sales.
One of the things that I love to say to people is you have to cultivate your fan base. And it's important to focus on turning your followers really into fans. What's the difference between a follower and a fan? A follower is somebody who's just scrolling through. They might be interested in the type of content that you put out, must be feeling you for the second, so they hit the follow button. A fan is somebody who's going to take the time to really engage with you. They're going to engage with you, which, to Zach's point, they're going to leave comments. They'll do more than just like the post. They're going to leave comments. They'll repost your posts. They'll tell their friends and followers about what you're bringing to the table. You'll be able to have a relationship with them, which basically will be your ability to move the crowd. Like somebody on my team who's exceptional at this is Kiati. There's a funny story, and one day I'll interview him here and he'll tell that story. But it's your ability to move the crowd. So to Zach's point, you may have 500,000 followers, but if your new album drops and nobody buys it from the people that are following you, well, that's a sign that your social media presence is in trouble. You could have 10,000 followers, and if 9,500 of those 10,000 go and buy your album, well, that's a sign you've got really high engagement. What is your ability to move the crowd? To me, that's how I sort of dumb it down, Zach, to the basics of engagement. What's your ability to move the crowd? And there are technologies and tools and resources out there that have now pulled the wool off of everybody's eyes so that they can really tell and figure out what your engagement level is. And to be honest with you, there's even technology out there that would say, what's the going rate for a post on your platform in terms of sponsored content?
Exactly.
So Zach, let's talk a little bit about some of the key platforms that are that people are engaging with right now. Obviously, we're on one of the larger ones, which is Instagram. So I would say the most common, and maybe you have a different thought, Instagram, Facebook, and then we've got to have the Twitter conversation and TikTok. So in your mind, explain how you view each of the platforms, those particular social platforms, and what
So
they should be used for?
I think it depends, like you were saying, what it needs to be used for. So you have to understand, and everybody is an influencer. Where you're doing music, makeup, fitness, selling a product, everybody is an influencer. So um, each platform yields a different type of engagement and a different type of
Hmm.
content that you have to produce. And right now, where I'm seeing for music artists and entertainers that are growing the most right now is going to be, and I beat it to everybody's brain, is TikTok.
Yes, TikTok.
So it's astronomical on how the growth is, and it's free growth. You don't have to pay for it. Like there's really not any marketing companies right now that are doing any kind of pushes or advertising for it. It is solely based off of organic traffic and how well you engage, with your audience, like you were saying. So, like who are you moving? And second line obviously is Instagram. It's becoming, since Facebook bought it over, it's becoming more of a marketplace. So it's more for professional brands, people that are already cultivated to kind of show the best of the best. So I guess I would say Instagram is like to highlight the best of you, and versus TikTok is more like the raw you every day, all
Okay.
day.
Hmm.
And Facebook, I believe Facebook and Twitter now are kind of hand in hand with, business and political views, and, obviously like industry tips and advice and stuff like that. So, so those are kind of like the top platforms that I see right now that are really driving it. Obviously, there's new ones that are budding out every day, and I always encourage people to look into different platforms that are emerging, because you never know when it's going to be the next big thing. And if
Hmm.
you get a jump start on it, because I've been telling people last year, get on TikTok, and now it's blowing up. It's getting a little harder for them to engage because the traffic is so inundated now, so it gets harder for growth. So if I'm always a social media forecaster, because I look at things before they like start jumping off, so that way I'm ahead of the curve.
Hmm. What would you say to people, and I know there's some artists in here, what would you say to artists that feel that TikTok is only for like sort of the one and done crowd, the little dance videos, sort of the viral something, and maybe I don't make that kind of music, maybe, my music is different, so what do you say to people that think it's just for dance challenges?
That's a great question. So I'm gonna quote something that Gary Vee said. He's like, I don't care if you're a 69-year-old lawyer, get on TikTok, right? And the reason why I say that is when we start going onto that platform, you're going to see the most popular and trending things right now, which are the dance videos, and the kids nowadays that you're seeing doing the different comedy sketches and stuff like that. But we have over 800 million users on TikTok. So that means there's a different lane, there's a different niche for everybody. It depends on what you consume. So what I would recommend, just, tips of the trade, is when you join, do not automatically start posting. Consume content for about a week. Favorite, a handful of hashtags that align with your brand and what you like to see, or who you would like to see, or, on your platform. And then what that does is the algorithm will identify, like what you're consuming, and then start pushing out your content and pushing out the content to you that is more aligned with what you like and, what people want to see from you.
Interesting.
So
You're
your
part of the
TikTok, it will look totally different than mine. They said the For You page, well, everybody's For You page is literally for you.
Interesting. It's kind of like the Explore page on Instagram, a little bit, because that tends to be informed by the things that you're interested in. And, these platforms are designed to be intuitive. They're nosy. They want to know what you're consuming so that they can feed that back to you so that, really they're trying to increase your engagement with their platform. So on TikTok, I love the fact that you are encouraging people, just don't get on there and start posting. Get on there and consume content first so that you can kind of set yourself up for the lane. The other thing that I think is really valuable, Zach, about that specific piece of advice is the fact that, if you can set up, like the things that you're interested in, like what's your lane, what do you want your lane to be, and you start viewing what that type of content, what type of content is out there and how it's being produced. To me, from a creative standpoint, I think, to me, I like to say, find the hole and fill it. So you might be consuming content that's in your area of interest and area like what your business is about. But to me, if you consume it, is there an opportunity for you to produce it a little bit differently? Or is there something that you have an area of expertise in that you could cover that's not being covered. So I love that tip about consuming first before you create.
Yeah, and to
Well,
piggyback off what you were saying too is, you were saying find that area. I also say refine that area. So, obviously there's a lot of ideas already out there that already been thought of, but what you can do is, take that and build a niche, a different pocket inside that content area for yourself. So that way
mhm.
you're the expertise. I'm gonna joke, but I'm almost serious at the same time. I have a different niche. So I do educational content, but I'm also an R&B artist. So, I call it thirst trapping with a purpose, right? Because we joke, but I'm half naked on most of my
If you hit Zach, man, you'll see why. There's a lot of thirst
Yeah,
trapping.
people see that dynamic. They're like, wait, you were just on here educating people, but then you're doing this other video because I understand like that's my mark and that's my lane. So because I have fans within that area, I reel them in with that, but then, I keep them there with educational content, so
I love
using
it.
the mind. So.
DB dropped a question in here, and people, if you've got questions, drop them in. We'll definitely want to answer. How long to consume? So, Zach, you're saying about a week? Is that long enough?
Yeah, about a week, because they really need to understand like what you like. Because if you start posting, after consuming 1 or 2 days, it might just hit a broader like demographic, and people are not going to see the type of content that they want to see. So you might fall into a bucket, of just music instead of your specific genre, and then you're not going to get that same conversion. So once you start posting, if you're not, like getting views and you're not getting a lot of people watching and resharing your videos, then they're going to deprioritize you. So it's very important when you open your account that you start consuming content for about a week.
Okay. So once you've consumed content, then here comes creation time. So, what's your view on creating content? Like you create a lot of content. How strategic are you about the content you create? Sort of what's your mental process?
So it depends on, your growth factor. So if you're a small content creator, like under 1,000, I would align trends with what you're doing. I would highly recommend that. So if there's like a popular song that people are doing a dance to and you're a music artist, remix that song, and like do your own version and then tag that song inside of your TikTok. And you can actually, what it'll allow you to do is layer the song. So the sounds actually help boost your views as well. So if you're on a popular sound, you can actually turn that sound all the way down or adjust the levels to where you can hear your audio and that sound at the same time. So, be creative with it. I've seen a lot of artists, they'll remix that entire song and then they'll just turn it all the way down so their version is playing over and then they're still attached to the audio file. So.
Wow. Okay. That's pretty interesting. So before you make a post, like how much time do you take to consider what and how you're going to post?
So based off of my For You page, I'm seeing what's trending within, like my area, my niche. And then I'd jot down a few ideas, I would say maybe like, get a notebook or, type some things up and save some ideas. I always try to stockpile so I'm ahead of the curve, so I'm not always rushing. So I tell my clients all the time, I'm like, make sure you have at least a week's worth of content. So if you get, lazy on a day or you end up getting too busy and life gets in the way, then, you already have something archived or in your drafts to post. And, but I get all my ideas from the For You page, so I consume content as much as I post. So that way I know, I'm keeping up with the latest trends and trying to align that with how it translates to my brand.
Now, I mean, Instagram's already up and running. I think it's still a valuable platform, shoot. I mean, we all know, especially during COVID, a lot of people, like what D-Nice sort of launched and, just a lot of people creating content in that space as well with lives. So, I don't want to say it's too late to consume and then create, but I think you can always consume and then create. Talk about hashtags when it comes to Instagram. What's your view on following hashtags? How many hashtags should you follow? Will that help also sort of, inform the direction that you go with building your brand on the ground?
Yeah, I mean, it affects your explore page. So the things that you like, where you click, how often you consume, and like you were saying, your hashtags that you favorite do play into that. So if you don't consume, it will definitely knock you down in ranking. And I've even started to see a drop in mine because, I've been consumed with another platform and multiple other things that I'm doing. So it is important, if you're going to focus on that, then you schedule yourself to, post at least once a day, and engage with those hashtags, comment, because when you reciprocate on these platforms, it shows the algorithm that you're a real user. So when I say reciprocate, I mean like comment, like, participate, engage with other people. So that way, you're showing up as a real user, and then people can come back and engage with you.
Okay. Mix Jordan has a question, and I'm sorry, hon, I don't know if I'm going to get the context correct. So if not, then just drop a comment and we'll correct there. It says, how do you know what to charge? Because it takes money to make money. So I'm assuming that you're talking about maybe sponsored posts on your page. I would say that there are, if you Google, there's, what is it? Influencer Hub, I know, is one.
Influencer Marketing Hub is actually great. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, I think we both maybe agree. Influencer Marketing Hub is a website that you can go to. And what you can do is you'll plug in your Instagram, and it'll tell you what your engagement is. And it'll also tell you what the going rate would be for a post on your page. So that's how you would know, what to charge in that way. I hope that's answering your question.
Yeah, and they actually just added a TikTok calculator as well, since TikTok just opened up their TikTok marketplace. So engaging with other brands and getting paid.
Oh, wow. Love that.
Yeah.
So back to the TikTok for a second, because I know we had some deep conversation about this, where there was this whole sort of movement out here that TikTok was not for people of color, but yet still you started and really launched a big movement on there. If you'll talk about that as well.
Yeah, so this is something really near and dear to me, because not only myself, but a lot of the clients that I work with are, Black. And when we joined TikTok, we kept getting banned for posting about Black issues, Black Lives Matter, just any kind of Black content. It was either deprioritized or, looked upon in a negative light, as far as, us getting more likely to get reported and being targeted. So I really got tired of it. I'm like, first off, there's so much negativity online, and a lot of these conversations are much needed to have.
Mhm.
But at the same time, being Black is not a costume. We can't take it off. We can't push the off button. So having an area to where we can just celebrate Black excellence and kind of, shift our focus a little bit to kind of reset and recuperate was kind of the goal of why I built Verified Black.
Mhm.
And I started, and like you tell me all the time, it's all about authenticity. So we really just started grassroots with the hashtag about maybe 4 weeks ago, and voiced our concerns and our opinions, and came together to push out the content and create a positive outlet on that hashtag. And it's grown to about I think we're close to 400,000 now on the hashtag, and it's helped other artists, other creators that are Black, really help propel their content and get them to where they need to be on TikTok. So I'm really happy to be able to contribute to that.
Okay. And what's the hashtag again?
It's hashtag Verified Black.
Mhm.
That's on TikTok. So
On TikTok specifically.
yeah.
Okay, so I know a lot of artists, when they're trying to get out here, first the first mode is they want to create music. That's what you do as well. But then there's the whole marketing and branding strategy. So, for an artist, maybe hasn't given much attention to the social space, just maybe more on the music side of things, and now needing to make a shift. What platforms do you think are essential for them to jump on? Do they jump on everything? Where do they give their attention in the social space?
I think you have to look within yourself, like what kind of content you're trying to create, based off the platforms that we talked about. So if you're more like, hey, like I'm okay with doing like quick bits and highlights of my life, the best of the best, then TikTok might not be the best for you, because it's a little bit higher dedication as far as time wise. So I'd say Instagram maybe would be the best, to focus on. Focusing on multiple platforms, unless you have a team, it's very hard. So if you're just starting out, I'd say find your pick, and focus on being the expert of that. So, even with myself, I have so many multiple projects. I find it hard to touch all the social media platforms, and I have, a team, but we're focused on a lot of other things. So I try to, stay focused on one platform and build that up to have my voice strong enough. And then once you have that power on that platform, you can actually, influence your fans to go to your other platforms. So I think you start with, one platform as your grassroots.
Okay, I will say just one caveat there. I just want to throw that out there. Own your brand in all platforms. I'm a big
Exactly.
proponent of brand consistency. Um, so having your name on all platforms, whether you're super active on it or not, I think is essential. There are people that make an entire living off of combing, these platforms and basically taking your name before you can even get it so that you're forced to buy it back from them. And I've had friends that have had to do that, and then, I mean, I've been a victim of it myself where for my personal brand, it's Terry Thomas here, it's Terry Thomas Inc. here because I wasn't able to get just one consistent. So, I would say regardless of that, always own your brand in all platforms, even like I
Yeah.
think Zach mentioned earlier, it may or may not, pop off. I want to talk a little bit about this is going to be controversial a little bit because I know the first time you said it to me, I was like, you want me to what? And that's like the cleaner, right? When you have worked and you think, oh, I have all these followers, but a lot of them are bots or fake followers. And it might actually benefit you to do a cleaner of some sort on your account to get rid of the people or the bots or the fake or whatever that aren't really there to help your engagement score increase. So you may lose followers, but your engagement increases. Talk a little bit about that philosophy because I know it probably incites sheer panic in
Yeah.
people that have, worked really hard to get a following and they're like, look at me, I have a huge following. But then you're challenging that a little bit by saying, well, how real is all of it?
Right, right. And it is it's a really good topic, Terry, because it's a lot of people think, oh, well, I'm not buying followers, so that doesn't, affect me, but it affects everybody because there's a lot of bot accounts out there. They're built to collect data from people. So it's almost like a parasite. So they latch onto your account, they see what you consume, and then they'll suggest ads and sell that data to somebody else. So it's very important. Instagram or any other platform, they'll look at it the same. It'll just look at it as a fraudulent account that's attached to you and it's lowering your engagement score. So if you have, 25% bots on your account, that's drastically affecting your engagement when you post and they don't engage as much because the numbers are a little bit influx too high. So it is important, even though you're lowering your numbers, but you're increasing your engagement. So there's a lot of free apps out there that do that as well. That you can download from the App Store. One good one for iPhone is called Cleaner for Instagram. So it'll do kind of like an audit, for your entire fan base and tell you this is the amount of people that look suspicious, that don't post, don't have a profile picture. So it's a very intuitive platform that will identify the right people, so it doesn't kick out real users from your platform.
And while your followers may decrease, you got to understand that you're basically trimming the fat. They're not real followers anyway. And then it's allowing you sort of to buoy your entire account so that you can get that engagement up. I
Right.
do see some questions here, so I want to make sure we tap in.
Sure.
We've got Jordan again. Do you feel like it's who you know in the industry and not what you know? I mean, we're both, Zach and I are in the industry. I mean, it's not really on the topic, but I mean, most certainly answer it. Zach,
Of
what's your
course.
opinion? Do you feel like it's who you know in the industry and not what you know?
It it's kind of I have a mixed opinion about that. It definitely can help for who you know, but learning how to engage, learning how to network is going to help you grow in the industry. So you might know people, but if you don't know how to engage, you don't know how to connect, you're not going to be able to flourish and expand your reach. So one prime example is we know each other from mutual connects, but we took the time out to actually reach out and connect and network, to be able to build that relationship and build that trust. So I'd say, go out there and learn how to be a people person. And it's funny because you would think most artists are social and can be people persons, but a lot of them are actually introverted, and I had to get over that myself because I used to be shy and an introvert, so which is hard to believe for most people.
Truth. I'll also say in terms of what you know, I mean, you've got all of these platforms to be able to showcase, really what you know and understanding that, if you put out the type of content that really speaks to who you are, as a person, people are going to find you. You know, if you're doing the right things to build your platform, you know, it's like they're going to find you. So, you know, I think sometimes too, it's a case of instead of waiting for someone else to recognize what you bring to the table, it's creating content that really speaks to what you bring to the table and allowing people to find you organically. And then it's also authentic as well. So, I mean, I think networking, or I know networking is really a two-way street, but I also have a philosophy of build it and they will come. Like even, you know, through my own platform and doing some of the things that I do, I've been able to connect with people just because they found what I was doing and they were like, oh, I like what you're doing here. You know, I think there's, you know, an opportunity for us to share, blah, 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 or whatever. So, you know, if you believe that you know something in a particular area, and this is for influencers especially, I mean, it doesn't always have to be artists. Your expertise might be gardening. Create content that showcases the expertise about what it is that you know and do it in an entertaining and authentic way, and the people that are meant for you are gonna, you know, you're gonna be able to connect with those people. So this is a good question. We haven't touched on this platform, but it's so valuable, especially for artists. This is from Just Call Me Pinky. I'm a newer YouTuber building my brand from the bottom. How fast should I be growing on YouTube? And then her YouTube channel is Courtney Shanice.
And I'm kind of confused on the question. You said how fast should I be growing as far as like numbers?
Yeah, probably it's probably numbers. I think there's a couple things here that I would tag, but building your brand from the bottom on YouTube. So I
Yeah,
guess
YouTube is quality over quantity, I would say, because a lot of people feel like they have to post, you know, a video like every other day or, you know, like 5 times a week or something like that. Building high quality content, and then looking at your watch rate. So if somebody watches your video like 80 to 90% through, then you're going to get a better bounce rate for your video. So you don't want people to watch 50 seconds of it and then tune out and it's a 5-minute video. So I'd say make content that is at least like under 4 minutes, because people's attention spans nowadays are very short, and grab their attention within the first like 5 to 10 seconds. Because if you don't get their attention within the first 5 or 10 seconds, you're going to lose that engagement right away. So really think and plan out, you know, your storyboard methodically. Like, you know, what's the hook? Like, how am I going to reel them in? You know, and you have to look at your talents. You know, am I a motivator? You know, am I a seducer? You know, am I should I serenade them if I'm a singer? Like, what am I doing to grab their attention within the first 5 seconds?
And then I just want to note this only because we've touched on it. Is also consistency in branding. So you're Just Call Me Pinky here, but your YouTube channel is a completely different name. So I would maybe step back and look at your overall brand strategy with all of the platforms that you're touching and create some consistency across branding. And, you know, just pick a thing, stick to a thing so that, you know, that you're building up that brand. Everything should be funneled. If you think of, you know, the whole social media space is this, you know, huge vastness of whatever. When you put things through a funnel and a tunnel, it has just a greater impact. So, you know, I would also just want to advise you just to take a look back at your overall strategy and create some consistency in branding with your name.
Yeah, that's really good advice, Terry. You know, and I always tell my clients as well too to keep their handle consistent across all platforms, like you were saying, you know, because that it's just easier to say, follow me on all social platforms, you know, at, you know, Zachary Devon. So that way, like, people know, like, that's going to be consistent throughout the entire, you know, platforms that you're on. It's just easier to find. And then keep it simple, stupid, KISS, you know, like, avoid underscores, numbers, things that make it hard for people to, you know, memorize. So if you keep it something catchy and simple, then that's going to help you with visibility, and it's going to resonate better with your fan base.
Yeah, like weird spellings and stuff like that, you know, getting to, I don't know, in your own head about the brand. I do love the simplicity of creating a brand. And then I would also say regarding the YouTube piece, like, you know, there's some YouTube channels I subscribe to with people that have content that interests me personally. And I find that in the social space, like they may be on Facebook, you know, because a lot of the stuff I like is more it's, you know, informative. It's, you know, I'm looking at it for educational purposes. So anyway, but you got maybe a Facebook, but then maybe there's also an Instagram. So the Instagram then becomes very microcosm of the content that's being created in a little bit longer form on YouTube. So, everything can funnel into each other. You just, and Zach taught me this a long time ago. It is important to create content. You may have one content idea, but making sure that you're editing it or presenting it properly on the platform for which it's intended. Can you kind of go into that a little bit, Zach? Because I know
Yeah.
we've talked about that quite a bit.
So like dimensions and ratios. So if it views better on, like IGTV, there's a different type of cropping. So you have to make sure, if you're creating content that's on YouTube and you put it on IGTV, that it fills in all the empty spaces and people can see it. It's optimized for that device or that specific platform to be viewed on the device. And even like your taglines, on Facebook and Instagram, they value shorter taglines, and you can optimize more hashtags. On TikTok, they value more in text in the video, and just putting maybe like less than 4 to 5 hashtags in the actual description so it doesn't get too busy and like go over your video. And you have to be aware of the sides so you don't end up putting text or video that's on the sides near the buttons where it'll block out your visibility. So you really have to play with that whenever you start taking that same content and translating to different platforms.
Okay, we got Marcus in here. So if you could see this, say what's up. Well, I can see it, Marcus. What's up? All right. Good morning. All right, let's see. How do you know who to use as far as sponsorships when you get so many sponsors who DM you? Man, that's a great question, because I've been getting, even for myself in my very small world, I get people DMing about, sponsorships. And I'll be honest with you, I trust no one. I don't trust people.
That's great advice. Yeah.
I trust no one hitting me in the DM about sponsorship. It's, I'll go into super sleuth mode and trying to find out, is this business legit? And then a lot of times when you hit their profile, it's some crazy profile. It's not legit. Not to say that people don't hit you, Pinky, but Zach, can you dig into that? Because, I see that she's a lady and, probably like a small little icon here, but beautiful, I'm sure, and all of the wonderful things that, are attracted to people. So talk to that subject, because I do feel like women especially, man, there's room predators out there really trying to tap in on the sponsorship thing, and I always get a little nervous for my ladies.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it is knowledge to empower yourself. So know your worth, so do the research. What is my influence translated into dollars and value? And, a lot of you guys that even at 1,000, if you have a high engagement that's like higher than the market norm, which surprisingly isn't really that high. So if you're under 100,000, like 5% is actually very high. 5% engagement. So if you get 10, 15, that's even above market norm. So going to those places like Influencer Marketing Hub to look and see, hey, this is kind of my price, and then use that to kind of negotiate. I say avoid doing free work nowadays, because if you're on this platform and you've worked hard for your following and you have engagement and you can influence, some kind of action, then you're going to discount yourself. You start doing free stuff, they're going to expect that on and on. And at the same time, if you do decide to do something free, look at the brand to see, is this brand going to help elevate my brand, or am I doing more for them versus they're doing for me? So that would be the only reason I would do anything free. Let's say, if Nike or Adidas approaches me, I want to do just a straight promo campaign. That's great for me because, their platform is bigger than me. So I wouldn't mind, doing something for them or discounting myself. But more than likely, if it's a small brand, make them pay, even if it's a little something. So that way they understand that it's, your time is worth money.
Yeah, and just beware of people that are trying to get you involved in deals where you have to buy something. That always is a red flag to me, right? It's like, oh, well, we'll give you a discount, and then you'll get commissions on, nah. And then I would also say, Pinky, I want to advise you to figure out what are the type of brands that you would like to sponsor you. and maybe be a bit more intentional about it, so that one, when you're creating content, if you create content that's in line with the type of brand that you would like to sponsor you, it could be an easier sell. I'm always a person, I don't always necessarily think that you have to wait for somebody to reach out to you. I'm a build it and they will, build it so that you have something to show for yourself. And then you could also reach out to a brand that's interested in you as well. And then just be mindful of not getting tied into so many small deals that when the big deal comes that you're really interested in, you won't be able to get it. So just, I would say, have some discernment and make sure that the deal is going to be mutually beneficial.
Yeah.
So the exception, well, I don't even want to say an exception. One of the best stories in branding may be older than some of the people here, but I mean, everybody kind of knows the name LL Cool J, right? Probably from TV on some level more than music, but those old school heads know the music side of it as well. So there was LL Cool J and there was FUBU, right? And LL was rising, FUBU was rising. And so they came in at the same time. They made a connection, and LL became the face of the brand. But they grew together. So there is the possibility of doing that, but just make sure it's people that you really know and that you really trust. And I would also say, get your paperwork together. Handshakes are great. Well, pre-COVID anyway, everybody, a handshake is this, that, and the third. No, this is about a simple agreement. This is what I'm going to give you in exchange for what you're going to give me.
Exactly.
I think that no matter what type of business that you do, you want to protect your interest and get at least a simple agreement that spells out the terms of what it is that you're doing, and also having an expiration date where you say, in 6 months we'll revisit this, or in 12 months we'll revisit this. Do not sign open-ended, or do not sign deals that have no expiration date. I think we all learned that from The Last Dance with, they made an entire law over the bad deal that Scottie Pippen got because he was tied into something long-term, and even though he became a much greater player than his contract dictated, it didn't put him in a position to go back and renegotiate. And you see that theme throughout that whole series. So just 2 cents for you, hon. I wish you all the best with it. Switch out followers to following. I'm not sure.
I think they're talking about the ratio, Terry. I saw that question earlier. So
Oh, okay.
I think, which is a great topic. So with most platforms, let's talk about Instagram since we're on Instagram. 10% or less for the people that you're following versus I'm sorry, 10% for how many people you follow versus people that are following you. So let's say you have 100,000 following you, then you should have no more than 1,000 people that you're following. So wait, I'm sorry, 10,000 that you're following.
People.
Sorry,
right. That's okay.
Early morning.
And you don't have to follow 10,000,
right,
but you certainly don't want to follow more than that. It's
That's
like
the threshold.
Yeah, and I look all the time and I see upside down metrics, right? Or you're following like 5,000 people and you've got 500 people following you. So it is, as I've learned, thanks to Zach, that's not the way to do it. You do want to have that ratio be on the 10% level.
And don't let people pressure you to do the follow for follow thing, because that's very damaging to your account, because it identifies you as spam. So whenever you have a high ratio, versus like being under 10%, the system's going to see you as spam.
Jordan tapping back on the networking. I say a lot on networking. I mean, networking is a lot of different things, Jordan. We've talked about that here a lot. I know you've tapped in before, so we've probably heard a few conversations about that. Just remember, there's a strategy to networking. I think people often fail at networking when they come into a conversation immediately saying, what can you do for me? Right, without trying to actually build a somewhat of a relationship. And I've given the tricks of the trade on that before, and we'll probably do a whole session on networking coming up, just in general, because that's a great topic, Jordan, that people continue to come back to. I think build it and they will come. So sort of represent yourself well in the social space, because people that meet you and become curious about you, the first thing they're going to go to and look at is your social, because they're going to want to try to find out something about you. But then, also listening and learning about the person that you'd like to network with, I think is essential as well. So, networking is about relationships, and to me, I'd say it's a marathon and not a sprint. The best networking is a marathon and not a sprint. short-term networking, I really call more transactional business. If it's what can you do for me and I can do for you in the immediacy of things, cool, that's business. Long-term relationships that can turn into, people that, become an advocate for you, that's going to be a little bit of a longer process. All right. How do you get brand sponsorship? I mean, Zach, you do a lot of strategic partnerships. How did you get brand sponsorship?
Well, it is really about building your numbers and engagement. So, starting with your music or who you are. If you get a lot of people participating into your videos and contributing. So I always say make content that is focused on your fan base and your users, so their user experience. So it can't be like, hey, look at me, like this is what I'm doing, smoke and mirrors, I'm driving, I'm living my best life. Nobody cares about that anymore. It's about being authentic and connecting with your fan base, on a personal level. So I can say when I sit down on my lives, people feel like they know me because I share a part of me and my core values and who I am and what I do outside of just my music. So when brands see that, they see you as an influencer and they will reach out to you organically. Or if you have that, like you were saying earlier, Terry, you can reach out to the brand and say, hey, I'm genuinely interested in working with you guys because you align with my views or you align with my lifestyle. So I think that's a perfect way to start. And you can actually start working with brands a lot sooner than you would think. You don't have to reach 100,000. I've worked with artists that have 1,000 followers, but they have very high engagement. So brands will still want to work with them versus, working with somebody that has a higher number, but very low engagement. So.
Okay. I think that's an awesome point. And like I said, I think it's also really just know yourself. Like, what are you about? It's not going to be authentic if you're associating with brands that really don't speak to your personal story.
Right.
You have to know what your interests are. I mean, we do that at the radio station, right? So when we look at the talent pool at the radio station, the first thing that I do is assess the talent and say, well, what are you interested in? What are the things that you like? What are the things that you consume? So that we can go out here and target, those particular types of accounts to build relationships for them to be spokespeople for those particular accounts because it's in line with their personal story.
Right.
So how do you build followers? I mean, that's the $1 million question, right, Zach?
Yeah. Like I said, you have to have some kind of hook. So people have to genuinely like you. And, it's not just about the talent anymore. It's about the person behind the talent. So, as an entertainer, as a singer, as a songwriter, as a rapper, as a fitness coach, whoever, you are, make sure that people know you and connect with you on a personal level, share your stories. Relatability is the biggest thing on social platforms because people want to see themselves in you. So I share my story all the time because from the outside, people looking in, they feel like maybe I have a perfect life or I was raised with a silver spoon in my mouth. And, being able to share my story about where I came from, I grew up in Inglewood. We didn't have a lot of money and, a lot of I don't want to get into too much detail, but, a lot of the horrible things I went through that got me to where I'm at today really helped people to kind of associate. And they was like, oh, well, like I'm motivated, I can do the same thing, so aligning their views with yours, as long as it's authentic, I think that's really important.
I would also say engaging with the people that do follow you, right? So a lot of times we're consumed with just bringing more people to the party, but what about the people that are already there? Are you making sure that those people are enjoying the experience of being on your platform? So if somebody does comment, are you recognizing that they comment? Are you engaging with them? Are you going to their page and maybe liking a few posts? You don't necessarily have to follow everybody that follows you, but what are you doing to connect with the people that are following you? So let's take it down if you're an artist, right? So you're growing your brand as an artist, you're out here, you're exploring your art, people are starting to follow you because they rock with what you're doing. They love the sound of your music. There's something about the personality that you have that they relate to. And when you engage with those people, so, like I see Josh on here. So if Josh, he's not an artist, but if Josh made an album, right? And I jumped on there, I was like, oh my God, track 5 is my favorite song. I love it. I feel like it speaks to me. And Josh has two opportunities at that point. He can comment back and say, wow, Terry, thanks so much for buying the album. Love that you love track 5, and maybe ask me a question. What did you hear track 7? What are your thoughts? Or, engaging. So now as a fan, I feel like, oh my God, this artist that I'm really rocking with is now responding to me. And so now I'm telling everybody that I know, wow, this artist is, it just makes me promote you. I mean, that's what fans really do, right? I mean, followers sit here and they're voyeurs. They're going to scroll through your page. They're going to hit a few likes, maybe, put a couple emojis on your post, maybe. But fans are really going to get out on here and they're really going to comment, and they're trying to get your attention because they love what you're doing. And those are the people that you really want, the people that are going to be your super fans. Because when you say, I have an album coming out on Thursday, and you run a contest for your fans, and you say, well, post the album cover, on your page and your favorite track number, and I'm going to give you a signed something, 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 right? So running incentives for your followers and, well, for your fans, really. So, creating that high engagement is going to allow you to move your own crowd, and then they become promotion for you, because they'll tell everybody about how dope you are, and they'll tell everybody how they get to engage with you. People don't forget that moment when somebody really puts the spotlight back. One of the things that we say in radio is like, we're not the stars, the listener is the star, and we like to shine that spotlight on the listener as much as possible. And when you do that right, that person in turn, gives you everything back. They're listening, they're engaging with you, and helping us keep the lights on. So
that's super
don't
valuable
underestimate
advice.
that. Yeah, don't underestimate the power of really engaging with your people. It's essential. If I'm an artist, I'm building my crew in every city that I go to. If I'm on tour,
what I
where's
love to
my,
do.
yeah, go ahead.
I was saying what I love to do too, to bounce off what you're saying, Terry, is like to, when I post things, I leave it open-ended for them to contribute. Or if I'm going on live, let's say, I'm doing like a music video idea, like I ask them, what would you guys like to see, and have them contribute, because if they feel like they're contributing to your art, that just creates that deeper connection, and that creates that super fan that you're looking for. So because I'm going to support you because you value my opinions, whether you take it or not. And obviously everybody's going to have their opinion, but they feel like they're contributing. I'm connecting with your fan base like that is also helpful.
Yeah, have fun with your fans. Like, one of the things that I recommended when this whole thing first came down and I saw what was going to happen, where concerts were going to be shut down, I was like, look, there's still things that you can do to keep yourself out there. If you are a songwriter, get in here and go on live and, say, all right, we're going to write an Instagram song or whatever, and just have the audience give you lines. And, it may be nonsensical and it may not make sense, but this is an opportunity for your fans to have fun with you. So doing things whether it's serious business or just some fun business where you're involving them in the process, is really, really super cool for them. And so, you're creating moments. I think the biggest thing that you can do as a creator in the online space when it comes to the specific engagement point is to create moments with your fans, because those moments, man, they're magic. And a moment with somebody can get you so much mileage in the tank. It really can. So create moments whenever possible, I think. I just want to make sure I'm not missing any questions here. Engagement is key. Yes, it is. Hey, Kiati, always in here. Now, Kiati, one day we're going to tell his story about social, because it's really funny. We used to argue about it. We would argue about social media. But now he's a rock star, so I love it. Want to just scroll through, because I hate to miss questions. If I didn't get your question, drop it in super quick, because we're getting ready to wrap up our hour, and I just want to make sure you get what you need today. So I think so far I've gotten all the questions in. Let's see. All right, cool. Well, looks like we're out of questions. Well, Zach, any parting words? How can people reach you if they want to maybe, dig a little bit more into what you have to offer?
For sure. So my company, we're in Houston. So, well, obviously because we're on 97, right?
No, you can
Melodic
be anywhere.
Soul.
We're global.
Well, you're right. You're right. You guys are global, and we're actually in Vegas as well. But I'm currently in Houston right now. So it's at Melodic Soul ENT. That's my company here on Instagram. You can look us up. We're actually doing consulting right now for a lot of different influencers and music artists. It's a great 12-month to 18-month program, depending on where you're at. We help you with all the tips of the trade, and to really build the team and the necessities that you need so you can be successful after you leave out of here. So I'm all about empowering artists to stay, independent and control everything from, the business side and the creative side. So that's what we promote here. And, obviously, if you want to connect with me personally, I am Zachary Devon. And I'm trying to get I am Zachary Devon reinstated on TikTok, but right now I'm under @Zachary Devon. So
Too much.
they banned me. Yeah, well,
social.
yeah, I'm trying to fight something with TikTok, but they're listening now, so hopefully they'll restore my account. But yeah,
Okay.
definitely if you guys need any tips or quick questions, if you're in my DM and I happen to see it, definitely shoot me a message and I'll respond.
Okay. Parting question from Jordan. He says, "Do you help music producers?"
I do. It's a different way that we approach it, but you're still an influencer. So don't think that because you're not an artist, that you can't promote your music and you can't promote your services, on social media.
Yeah, I think absolutely. And thanks, DB. Appreciate the comment. All right, everybody, look, it's been awesome. So Thursday, we're going to do this again at 8 o'clock. So I'll post shortly. My guest is going to be Troy Marshall. And we're going to talk again about social space. So Troy is more on the label side, and he works with artists and really works with artists in the social space of putting your music out there specifically on all of the online platforms, and he will dive deep into the subject of talking about the algorithms, how to optimize your music in the online space so that you can get engagement there just from the art standpoint, not the personality standpoint. So we're really going to continue the social conversation there. So thank you, Zach. You are the best. I appreciate it. And thank you for your comment as well. So listen, everybody have an awesome day. This is going to post, and if you missed anything, it'll post on the Box IG shortly on the IGTV. So y'all have a blessed day, and thank you, Zach.
All right, later.
All right, later.